tonight, if he hadn't decided to go to Woolton Church Fete almost 30 years ago, the course of pop music would have been very different. Indeed, the course of 20th century history would have been very different. He is Sir Paul McCartney.
The Vicar of Woolton. Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm fine, how are you?
All right, great, thanks, yeah.
Can I ask you a bit about the Sir bit of Sir Paul McCartney?
Yes, you can.
Now, I imagine you'll be too diplomatic to say this. My initial reaction was, it's long overdue a knighthood for Sir Paul McCartney.
Well, it's lovely. A few people have said that, you know. I don't really believe it, but it's great to have people say that, you know. It's a very nice compliment, isn't it? I mean, tell you the truth, you know, it's such an honour, but I don't really kind of use it, you know. No. I mean, I don't sort of say, you've got to call me that. In fact, I prefer just to be called Paul McCartney. Yeah. I got on a plane the other day and somebody said, welcome, Sir Paul. I looked behind to see who they were talking to, you know. But it's such a great honour.
Yeah. When the Beatles got their MBEs, of course, some people got their sort of knickers in a twist over that, didn't they? Some Canadian MP, I seem to remember, returned his medal saying, I don't want to be associated with something very rude he said about the Beatles, like a bunch of numbskulls or something. I assume it shows how times changed, that everyone now is Sir Paul McCartney. Did you ever think about it and think, well, you weren't also keen when they gave me an MBE?
Yeah, it was funny, you know, because we really didn't expect that. I mean, we hadn't done anything virtually except just be a pop group, you know. Yeah. And Harold Wilson gave us them. So that was amazing to get. But, yeah, a few people sent them back. And then later John sent his back, you know. It got to be the kind of thing you send back, you know. Yeah. He sent his back in protest against the Biafran War, which seems a long time ago now. Yeah. That was great, you know. I mean, it's fantastic. If you grow up in Britain, you grow up with this whole sort of system, you know, and when it honours you, it's rude to refuse.
Of course. We'll talk a little more in just a moment. I want to hear a track now from your latest album. This, from Flaming Pie, is The World Tonight. The World Tonight from Paul McCartney's new album, Flaming Pie. And I guess everyone knows the significance of the title by now, but just to reiterate if anyone doesn't, an anecdote from John Lennon, wasn't it? Yeah,
we always used to get asked, how did you come up with the name Beatles? So John kind of developed a little answer, you know. Nobody's really sure. Actually, I think it was him and Stuart, who was our old bass player, just trying to look for a name which was double meaning, because we admired the name Crickets, Buddy Holly and the Crickets, and we thought it was a game and a grasshopper. So John wrote a thing called On the Dubious Origins of the Beatles, and it was a joke piece in a thing called the Mersey Beat, which is our local music paper. It was something like, I never remember, it was something like, it came in a vision, a man came unto me on a flaming pie, and he said, you shall be the Beatles, with an A, and so it came to pass. It was something like that, you know. And later on, when we did the Beatles Anthology, a couple of people started getting serious and saying, well, no, we all know the origin. John had a vision. We said, come on. It was a joke, you know. So it got to be a funny little debate. Yeah. So when I was sort of messing around and looking for a rhyme for the word sky, actually, it came up to P and got pie and thought, well, no. And then I thought, wait a minute, Flaming Pie, it could be... So I made up a song with that, which was a slight tongue-in-cheek parody of this whole debate, you know. Yeah.
The Flaming Pie is your first solo work for some time. Now, how does Paul McCartney arrive at the point where you want to put an album out? Because you don't have contractual obligation and that sort of thing. So do you just think, I've got 12 or 13 really good songs now, it's time to put a record out? How does it work?
Well, yeah, it's normally that kind of thing, but in this case it was... I'd been held up, really, from that normal process by the Anthology, Beatles Anthology, because I knew there were 3 sets of double CDs coming out. And the record company and various other people had said to me, well, it won't be too cool for you putting out a single album in the middle of that. Right. Not only will it be commercial death, it also will look a little bit, like, unseemly. It'll look like you're trying to say, you know, forget the Beatles, I'm cool. Yeah. So I was quite happy with that eventually. And so I just started making music for my own fun. So instead of doing a whacking great kind of project, I just did a song at a time, and I liked the little collection. And they'd come with no pressure whatsoever.
The personnel on the record's quite interesting. And how did you... Was that just accidentally that all fell together?
Well, they were kind of mates, you know, from a long time ago. One late night, there'd been a Beatle argument, and there'd been a big business thing, and they'd all stormed off, leaving me in the studio, sort of wondering what had gone on, you know. Anyway... That all worked out later, but the studio was consequently free, and Steve Miller put his head round the door. He said, hey, man, is the studio free? I said, well, I suppose it is, really, you know. He said, well, can I use it? I said, well, yeah, all right, you know, but let's do something together, he said. So we ended up, I thrashed about on the drums because I was fairly angry after this meeting. Yeah. So I said, just let me drum and hit something, can I? So I got on the drums, he got on guitar, and it was a track called My Dark Hour. So I remember that. I was actually playing it to my son, because he's always asking, well, did you know Steve? Like you've asked, I said, oh, yeah. So I played him the track. He said, oh, I love it, So it reminded me to get back in touch with Steve.
Right.
And that was a song called Young Boy.
Yeah.
Which was the British single.
Your son James plays on the record.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Did he sort of muscle in and say, Dad, I want to be on this record? Or?
No, it's kind of just the opposite. He's not shy, but, he's not really pushy. But he's been playing guitar for about 9 or 10 years now. And I just hear him at home, and I just think, I occasionally say, well, that's really good. Wow, it doesn't really go beyond that. But I had this track called Heaven on a Sunday. I said, are you up for it? He said, yeah, okay. Ever so casual. And we just went into the studio. And it was lovely, really, because, when you've lived with someone or played with someone for that long, you have got a little rapport. Yeah. With James, it just worked out.
Yeah. I'm intrigued that a lot of the records seem to have been written on holiday, because you'd think you'd just go on holiday and buy your Daily Mirror, and a Kiss Me Quick hat, but obviously you don't, because a lot of the songs are written in sort of exotic locales where you'd think you'd be sunning yourself.
It's true. People say that to me. They say, Paul, everyone goes on holiday and gets away from the work. What are you doing? Well, I do that too. I like sailing and stuff, so I've got a little sailboat, so I'll do that. I'll do my swimming, lying out in the sun, a little bit of lunch and all that. But after lunch, I've kind of had enough of the lying out in the sun.
Yeah.
And I've done all my sort of activity, and I'm now into kind of chill out thing.
Yeah.
And that's pulling up a guitar, sitting down, just going off into a little room.
Yeah.
And to me, it's kind of still like a hobby, which is one of the nice things about songwriting for me. It's never developed into a profession.
No, not really. It does never felt like that.
It never has. Luckily, it is for a lot of people. It's like churning out songs. To me, it's still kind of a magic process. I pick up a guitar or sit at a piano, and I've no idea what I'm going to do. I may have a rough idea of a title or something, but then it's like, ooh, this magic little moment. Ooh,
right.
If I'm lucky now, in the next few minutes, something just might appear.
Yeah.
And I'm still in love with that process,
Okay. Let's do another track from Flaming Pie. This is Great Day. Great Day from Flaming Pie by Paul McCartney, I'm delighted to say is with me tonight. That particular track has had echoes for many people of tracks like, in particular Blackbird and things like that. Was that anything conscious about that?
Well, it's really because it's an acoustic song with just me and an acoustic, which I think that's the echo.
Right.
I've got a few little songs that are just for sort of sitting around the kitchen. Just songs I do when I pick up my guitar, or when the kids, when they were little, they're just dancing around. And, if Dad's got a guitar, they dance to it, sort of thing. And I always used to do that little song, and Linda always used to sing along with it. And one of the other songs on the album is called Calico Skies.
Yeah.
And I was recording that song with George Martin. And it was all over so quickly that I thought, well, there's no point having him down here for the whole day. And I've just, one song, thank you, goodbye. So I thought, well, we have a cup of tea, but why don't we do another,
Yeah.
So I pulled this one out of the hat and said, I've got this one. It's been hanging around for years, really. Might as well try it. And it actually was going to be left off the album. We were going to finish the album with a big song called Beautiful Night, which is the penultimate track. But I thought it was a little too obvious, ending with a big, big thing. So it'd be nice to just come down again to something little and very intimate. So we did Great Day.
Something you've done, a manoeuvre you've used before, I seem to recall that. The big suite at the end of Abbey Road, and then you sort of puncture that almost with that little bit of Her Majesty at the end. So let me, since I've brought that up, let me turn to one of your former groups, the Beatles. Buzz Aldrin, who went to the moon. Well, he had problems, actually, because afterwards he found it was impossible to relate to kind of normal life, having been to the moon. Have you ever felt any touches of the kind of Buzz Aldrin syndrome of thinking, blimey, I was in the Beatles? You know what I mean? How easy is it to not be in the Beatles once you've been in them?
Yeah. Well, the good thing was it wasn't my decision. The group broke up kind of thing. So it wasn't like as if, it was I'd said, I don't want to be in the Beatles. That might have been more difficult to deal with. Because I might have then said, I shouldn't have said that. So it was like it was a fact anyway. So it was something I just had to get on with. My first reaction was to go back to square one and get into Wings and just go and tour like little university gigs, which we did, 50p on the door. And the university kids couldn't believe it. The Students' Union, we said, we got Paul McCartney outside in the van. He said, get away. But it was very difficult right after the breakup of the Beatles. It was almost impossible. It was like, I really felt I related to guys who were getting redundant, because a lot of that at the time, as there still is. But I really thought, I'm useless. I've suddenly lost all my use. It'd be like, if suddenly you lost this job. And, you know, just for a few days, in my case, for a few weeks, it was like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, you know, my only function in life is to be in the Beatles.
Yeah.
And it was a bit shocking, you know. So I sort of didn't get up for a few days and sort of, you know, just didn't bother really. Just went a bit...
Yeah.
But after a while, you know, Linda started saying, well, you know, you've done enough of that now. You better do something.
Better get another job.
Get out of the house and get a job, you know. So I just started to gradually kind of get back into it. But since then, I've just kind of quite enjoyed the legacy of the Beatles. It's kind of, I can say to people, yeah, I was in them. Yeah, you know, like you were telling me before, your mum took you when you were 2.
Yeah.
And I can say, yeah, that's great. You know, I've got a lot of stories off people like that.
Yeah.
So I can enjoy all of that. Because the Beatles were so successful, we always kind of felt that we came full circle. And it was only about 10 years, the Beatles' career. But we went right from A to Z, you know. And we didn't feel we could do much else. So I didn't kind of yearn for more Beatles.
No.
I think it would have been more difficult if I was kind of annoyed at people thinking of me as a Beatle. Oh, you're in the Beatles. I'm saying, no, I'm in Wings now. Or no, I'm a solo artist. Stop thinking of me that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I realised, like Charlie Chaplin, you know, once you've been that famous... That's it. You can't unfamous that, you know. No. So I actually just get into it. And I just enjoy other people's reactions. And I enjoyed the anthology just for looking back over it all, you know.
Did you ever wish, though, or have you ever wished, even for a fleeting moment, I wish I'd been in Jerry and the Pacemakers. Do you know what I mean? I wish I'd been in... I'm quite happy to have been in a band and had all those good times to go to be in a band, but perhaps not the Beatles. It was,
you want a short answer to that?
Well, it's short or long as you like.
No. I really don't. No. Man, the Beatles was like a fantastic experience, you know. I'm still amazingly proud of not only what we did, but how it's hung about. You know, because I think like a lot of what we did was musically good. You know, some people think that's big-headed, but it wasn't just me did it. So, you know, we as a group, I think, did a lot of seriously good stuff. And it still sounds good, a lot of it. And the other interesting thing is you get so many bands, particularly now, who copy it.
Yeah.
And who tribute it all the time. I mean, a month doesn't go by where there's some record called Beatlebum, so-and-so. Yeah. There's one coming out, Prefab Sprout, I think, called Electric Guitar or something, tribute to the Beatles. And I love that. You know, how could you not love that?
Yeah. At this point on the show, usually, I ask for my guests to pick a track, an album track that means a particular something to them. Now, I wonder if this is not too difficult a question. Beatles albums are poured over, and there isn't such thing as an unknown Beatles track, but is there an album track from a Beatles album that you think perhaps is tucked away somewhere that you really like and doesn't perhaps get not talked about as much as some of the classic Beatles records? Does anyone spring to mind?
Well, the one for me is not so much an album track, or it probably is on an album. It's You Know My Name, Look Up the Number.
Right.
Which is like a mad thing that took us years to do, because we could never be bothered finishing it. It originally came up where John came in with this thing, and he said, I've got a great song. So how's it go? He said, you know my name, look up the number. You know my name, look up the number. He said, yeah. How's it go on? He said, you know my name, look up the number. I said, whoa, John's lost it, you know. But we found millions of little ways to do it. I was like, you know my name, like a cabaret singer. Yeah. And then it was, you know my name, you know my number. It just got to be like a hilarious track to record, and we recorded it on lots of little occasions and eventually stuck it all together as a record. So that's a mad one. If you require like an album one, I suppose I'd choose something like Why Don't We Do It in the Road, which is a very mad track, but I loved it at the time. You know, so quick to do and so mad. It was like really out of left field or right field even. Yeah.
Are your recollections of the songs and the periods and the writing of them still very vivid and fresh in your mind? They seem to be.
Yeah, I mean, not all of them, you know. So, it was quite a hazy period, you know. But, I've got quite a good recollection of most of them, yeah. That one, Why Don't We Do It in the Road, was really, we were in such a hurry to finish the White Album, what became known as the White Album. And we had a deadline, or we couldn't meet the release date, so we were like working frantically over the last weekend and stuff. And so we were actually split up in various studios. Some of the guys were in Studio 2, mixing one of the tracks, and I sort of waltzed off to Studio 3, I think it was, in Abbey Road, and just thought, well, I'll just record another little track while they're mixing that, you know.
Right.
So it was quite good memories, and it's a far-out song.
It is indeed.
But... Well, so a friend of mine came up to me one day. He says, He says, Paul, what does it mean, that track? I didn't have the heart to tell him.
Here it is. That's It's Not Me from the Supergrass album, In It For The Money. And Sir Paul, I won't say Sir Paul McCartney, it does seem a little formal if you don't mind.
It does, yeah.
That's Supergrass are one of a wave of groups who are thought of to be kind of Beatles-y in the sense. I mean, I don't think that particular track is, it's not noticeably a Beatles template, but do you like that song?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. What do you think about when bands these days, certainly in the last couple of years, from Oasis to Supergrass, people like that, very obviously bands who've been influenced by the Beatles, is that kind of a bit spooky, or is it sort of amusing and?
No, it's just good, really, because things could have gone the other way, where the only influence might have been something out of the punk era, or they might have been highly influenced by the Rolling Stones or something.
Yeah.
So it's kind of good, really, just to think that it's the Beatles that, because it was the Beatles then that were kind of streets above in front of most people.
Yeah.
And it's, strangely, it's kind of still like that now, But I think it's great. I mean, I sometimes turn on the radio and think, oh, it's a Beatle track. And no, it's Oasis or something.
Yeah.
Because there's such an obvious take on it. They sing good, they play good.
Yeah.
They use all the same kind of instruments we used to use, same amps and everything. So it's like a time warp for me.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, just see the same clothes coming back, the same instruments, same vocal sounds, same techniques, same kinds of songs.
Yeah.
So I think it's fine.
Did doing Anthology, I suppose it must have, by definition, made you go back and look at it all again? Was it a strange experience for you, having that kind of massive historical project about your own personal past?
Yeah, it was actually. It's like, it's bad enough looking at holiday videos of yourself and you go, oh my God, did I do that? Or did I look like that? But it was good, but it was a little bit strange, a little bit like a massive home movie,
Yeah.
But the funniest thing, really, was being in Abbey Road when we were selecting the takes originally. And just listening, looking at these old boxes, the old box, the tape boxes, and listening to these very early takes. And just actually, I was like worried I was going to make a mistake on the bass. It took me right back to the very first time we sat there and listened, because it was George Martin, George and Ringo there. So I just actually thought, oh my God, no, I hope I'm going to. Someone just sort of said, no, don't worry, it's all okay. These have been hits.
You've done.
It's all right, Don't have to worry about these. But
did you read? That just occurs to me. You mentioned that. Did you read Ian MacDonald's Revolution in the Head book?
Yeah, I saw bits of it. Yeah.
What did you think of that?
Well, it's like all those books. Some bits of them are great.
Yeah.
But then I'll read a page. It's just total bullshit.
Right.
And so it kind of spoils it for me, because there's so many legends around these things that have grown up, and they're just not true.
Not true.
I mean, there's the meter maid, famous meter maid, who I never met. Oh, she might have given me a ticket once.
Right.
I certainly didn't write a song about her for that. But, she probably, her name probably was called Rita or something, so they go, oh, she's a traffic warden.
Right.
Rita, meter maid,
Yeah.
And they make it up, and the people, of course, go along with the stories. Oh, yes, why, I'm Rita, I did meet him, and he did write a song about me. But invariably, that's not really true, that stuff, That's why I did my new album.
Going back to now and Flaming Pie, I mean, you've toured relatively recently, and does that still something that really... do you still have a real appetite for that, for getting out onto stage?
Normally, the last tour you're talking about was kind of big. It's like it was 140 people with us on the road, and we were playing to one place in Brazil. We played like 184,000 one night. So, those are fantastic evenings. It's a great evening, great crowd, you can imagine, And it's good fun to do. The first couple of weeks are always a little bit... I'm trying to remember all these lyrics, because, in the old days I would do maybe 20 minutes, because then John would do another 20 minutes, and that was the show kind of thing. You'd never I don't think we ever did 40 minutes, actually. We had shorter shows then.
Yeah.
But now, for value for money...
Of course.
You do these 2-hour shows, because the prices are all higher and that. So I find myself singing for 2 hours, trying to remember 2 hours worth. It's like 2 very long Shakespeare plays. Or anybody plays. It's a hell of a lot of words to remember. But after a couple of weeks, it just comes, you get on autopilot, and then you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I still forget them anyway.
You forget, even classic Beatles songs.
Yeah,
you
see, people think, oh, you wrote them, you must remember them. And of course, they remember them. People in the audience know them better than I do. But you've got to remember, okay, I wrote them and recorded them, but I haven't played them every day since.
Yeah.
I don't pull them out periodically. I'm getting on with like my new album.
Well, you must be very pleased with the initial reactions to Flaming Pie. It's got, in terms of one thing, just it's sold, but also in the nice things people have said about it. Although, are you at a point where you think, I don't care about
it is good. No, I do care. Like,
and what will you... I mean, I know their Flaming Pie is current and will remain current, but will you now think, I'll now amass more songs, and when I feel like putting another album out, I will? How will your thinking be about that? Is that how it'll work?
That's the kind of idea, yeah. I've already started, I've already got a couple of songs that... Because I say, if you're a writer and you do it for your own fun, you can't dictate when a good idea is going to come up. But there's no hurry, obviously, because I've only just got this one out.
Of course. Stay with the Paul for just a little while. I'll be talking again to you in just a moment. My guest tonight has been Paul McCartney. Thank you very much for coming by.
It's been a pleasure.
It's very nice of you to do that. And Flaming Pie, as I say again, has been so well received and commercially and critically that must be very buoyant. So you're generally in a very buoyant mood at the moment?
In a buoyant girl mood. Very nice. Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. It's, as you say, the album's gone down well, so I'm just having fun.
Right. And I did ask you if you would, while those records are on, to choose a cover version of one of your own songs that you particularly liked. And as you said, there's been so many. I mean, your songs must have been covered more than... I'm sure this is in the Guinness Book of Records, isn't it? Have you been covered...
More than Soft Mick.
More than that well-known songwriter, Soft Mick.
Yeah, there's a lot of cover versions, which is great, and I don't mind any of them, even the Danish steam organ playing I Want to Hold Your Hand.
They're my particular favourites, actually.
They're really good, some of them, actually. But, if I had to choose one, Eleanor Rigby was done by Ray Charles, and he did a really nice funky little version of it because I love old Ray, and so I'd choose that. Ray Charles, Eleanor Rigby.
We'll hear that in due course, and again, thank you very much for coming by, Paul McCartney.
Okay, thanks, and see you, listeners.